are live. Right. So we are live. Give us a second here to get Miss Annette on. Bear with me, everybody. We're going to get Annette on here, and then we will get cranking. Bear with me, everybody. We're just getting Annette to jump on here. I hope everybody's having a good start to, or good end to your day. I'm pretty excited about getting Annette on with us because we're going to be talking about how she's gone about doing what it is that she's done. And what she's done is actually pretty spectacular. I'll share with you her bio here in a little bit, but very impressive businesswoman, very impressive agent, and really is going to be sharing a unique perspective as it pertains to social and print marketing and the things of that nature. So bear with me. You there, Annette?
I'm here.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks so much for taking the time today. So let's go ahead and get into it. I know you're a busy lady, so we're going to get right to it. We've had some technical difficulties here on our end, so let's get right into it. So everybody, welcome to another episode of the XLR8 podcast. I'm pretty excited. We have a unique guest with us today. We have a top-performing agent, broker, business owner, entrepreneur. This woman's won more awards than I really have the time to go into, but the big things that you need to know that I think are really impressive about you, Annette, aside from all the other ones, she's a Centurion level producer several times over, and she's also a President's Award winner as well. And what that means is she produces at a high level, and she does so not just from a volume and sales perspective, but her clients love her. She delivers exceptional customer service. So usually when you see somebody producing at the level that Annette produces at, it's very difficult to see that person also win a President's Award or win quality service, because it's kind of hard, honestly, to produce and have everybody love you at the same time, because when you're doing that kind of volume, something's got to fall. And on top of that, this woman is a mother of, what, 6 children, Annette?
Yes, six, 3 and 3.
Wow, so you're eligible for sainthood. So that's pretty impressive. I only have 2, and I think that I'm dealing with a lot. So that's really, really impressive stuff. So what we're going to kind of talk with Annette about, she's got a fantastic history. Annette, you came into the business, what, 2011?
Correct.
Why don't you walk us through some of those early years? Because, we've got a lot of people that have come into the business here in the last couple of years, and people trying to figure it out. You've obviously done a really good job figuring it out, right? Married, you're a wife of a military veteran. By the way, thank you for that. So you're a wife of a veteran. You've got kids to deal with. You've got a very busy personal life. How did you start? How did you begin? Why don't you start there and take us through that?
I always say God sent me to real estate with blinders on, is my saying. So 2011, #1 unemployment county in the state of Ohio. My husband had lost his job, and I decided I should come and play in real estate while he goes back to college. And I guess what I didn't know is that most people who had been in the business 10 and 15 years were leaving. So I came in and with a lot of hard work, couldn't figure out how to get people into foreclosed homes because there weren't loans out there for foreclosed homes. I just started networking.
Okay, so would you say you're a pretty big sphere of influence person?
Actually, I had no sphere of influence when I came into the business.
So then tell us, where did you start? Like, was it prospecting? Was it networking? Did you do a lot of farming? How did that all begin?
So I had read a really good book at the time, and it said, if you want to stay in real estate, you need to be a listing agent. And I realized that I didn't have a big enough name in real estate to really farm anywhere, because I was competing with all the people who had been in business 30 and 40 years. Mm-hmm. But in the book, it had talked about going after expireds. So the first thing I did is I went back 5 years and I pulled all the expireds and looked to see who had relisted and who hadn't. And every one of those people who hadn't relisted got a letter from me. And
so that's hilarious, because that's literally something that we've been working on. So you basically, so to clarify, you kind of worked old expireds. You saw who hadn't relisted and you started cultivating them.
Correct. And what I learned is I was really good at telling those people what I could do differently. And a lot of it was just saying I would give better pictures on the MLS than most agents. And I wasn't going to show bathrooms, because bathrooms never really show up really good. And my thought was, if they didn't see a bathroom or a laundry room picture, the wives would want to go see those, or the women would want to go see those two items, because I know that's what would normally sell me on a house. Mm-hmm. So by the time I would get done talking about pictures and marketing, I found out I normally didn't. All I had to do was walk in with my listing paperwork, and I didn't even have to give a presentation.
Wow. That's fantastic. Well, everybody always has all these very intimate questions. And literally just within our brokerage, we've actually been working on this very topic for quite some time now. What did that look like? You said you sent some direct mail to them, but like, what did that look like? So you hit old expireds. Did you send multiple mailers? Like, what different kinds? Can you kind of walk us through like those finer details of what exactly you did?
So it's funny, what I did is I only sent them one letter, and it either worked or it didn't. And it was very basic. And when I share the letter now with other owners and agents, they're like, Annette, there needs to be more meat and potatoes to this letter. And I always say, I'm not switching it because it works. It's just old school. And the other thing I realized is that I had to put a business card in every envelope. And it couldn't be copied onto my letter. It had to be completely separate, because some people have to feel that card and some people want the letter. And I don't know which one you are. So I just had to send a business card with a real simple letter, just saying, if I see your house didn't sell, if you want to discuss it and maybe tell me why you think it didn't sell, please give me a call. And they would just call and start rattling all the reasons it didn't sell.
That's fantastic. So you didn't even necessarily dive into doing like, a really long drawn out mailing campaign. But I'm assuming this was probably a daily habit for you, or a very consistent habit. Would you say that's correct?
It was. What I know about is hard work and dedication. And I knew I had to be in the office. And when I asked my broker at the time, what should I do when I come into the office the first couple months, he says, do whatever you want. Well, I didn't know what to do. So I learned how to send expired letters, and that just became my passion. So if I wasn't showing a house or listing a house, I was doing, and it took me a few months to get through 5 years worth of expireds at that time.
Wow, that's fantastic. So a lot of people out there, I think expireds are like a 4-letter word in this day and age. Everyone views it as, cold calling and all of that. So you pretty much, from the sounds of it, did this all via direct mail.
Correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
I didn't do labels of the addresses. We hand addressed the envelopes because it was more personal. And I signed every one of those letters in blue ink, because you can feel the yeah, that you can feel that it was really signed by somebody and somebody cared. Mm-hmm. And people would say all the time, you know, you signed that letter yourself. Do you send these out all the time? And I'm like, I do. Well, why do you sign them? I said, so you know I care.
That's fantastic. So how did that, all right, so you got in kind of doing old expireds, you did it via direct mail. How did the business start growing from there? What were some of the next steps once you started gaining momentum?
So I knew I didn't like cold calling, so I stuck with letters. I thought I'd get faster if I used postcards, and I found out postcards didn't work for expired, so I think I lost some ground there. But I just kept every day pulling up. I would every morning pull up the old expireds from the day before, work on those, and then go back to the really old ones and just keep focusing on them. And then if I happened to see a for sale by owner, I realized everybody in my area was going after for sale by owners. So I changed it. I would send a CMA letter to that whole street. And what I realized is normally if one house goes up for sale, 2 or 3 more on the street go up for sale. And if the for sale by owner starts it, then I need to catch the next 2.
That's a great idea. I love that. That's fantastic. So everybody, to put it into context, what she's saying, she was a 2012 Rookie of the Year. She came into the business in 2011. Do you remember the month you started, Annette?
I started in May 31st of 2011.
So not even a first full year in 2011. 2012, she's Rookie of the Year. What would you say was the lion's share of how you built that business? Was it all expireds at that point?
Expireds and CMA letters.
Wow. Good grief. So expireds and CMA letters, Rookie of the Year in your first full year.
Yes.
Wow, that is amazing. How long, for those people listening to this now saying, oh, okay, yeah, Annette, I've tried that and it didn't work. What would you say to them? Like, because a lot of people, this is something that we preach. It's just, if you're going to commit to it and do it until it works. It will work, but you got to stay doing it until it works. How long did it take for you to see results, to start getting calls, and actually start seeing it turn into practical business?
So my second year in real estate, I was the #1 listing agent in our MLS. So
second, you were the #1 listing agent in the MLS off of expireds and CMA letters around FSBOs.
Correct.
That is freaking awesome. So now listen, I'm hoping everybody listening, particularly our agents listening, hear that this is not some just grandiose strategy. She just executed. And that's, Annette, I know you as a broker and you guys have got a lot of amazing things going on up there in Ohio. I'm sure you probably see execution is probably a big problem with a lot of people. Would you say that was probably the biggest factor for you? It's just that you did it and you were consistent every day?
Absolutely. My husband laughs. He'd say, you're a brand new agent. What are you doing all day? I'm like, doing letters. And I even hired an assistant. I think I was about 6 months in when I hired an assistant, and she would help. She would just spend 3 hours every day helping stuff envelopes and help get them ready. And we were consistently doing that. And wow. I always tell my new agents when they come in and they say, I don't know if this is going to work. And I said, well, what else do you have to do all day? So if you plan on being here, if you're not showing a house, if you're, you're not listing a house, come in and just stuff envelopes.
Wow. That is absolutely huge. So let me back that point up, because this is another point that we like to hammer all the time. And just a lot of people don't do it. So you had an assistant, how fast?
Really, I think it was in 3 months, but I'll be safe and say 6 months.
Wow. So did you already have money coming in, or was that a big leap of faith for you?
One of my best friends said, I need a part-time job and I need to work 11 at night until like 3 in the morning when my kids are sleeping. And I said, well, I could use help stuffing envelopes. So if you'll stuff envelopes, I'll pay you at closing. So you may go 30 days without a paycheck, but I'll pay you. And she couldn't find another job that she could be at home with her kids. That's probably not legal.
It's genius. What are you talking about? That's genius. That's fantastic.
But it worked for her and I. And
absolutely.
And we neither one regretted what we were doing. She was making the money she needed, and I was getting that extra help to get my letters. And sometimes I would have, it's so funny, sometimes I wouldn't even have the money to send out the letters. So there would be piles in my office just waiting on the next closing. And I would always give my first 10 to 15% back to my business out of every check. And that would be paying my assistant or first. And if I have money left over, sending out my mailings.
Well, I hope everybody listens to that, because that's definitely something we preach as well. And I think a lot of agents don't, I don't think they have the discipline to do that. And that's such a huge factor. I mean, the fact that you in basically your first full year were able to accomplish that off of one singular basically direction in the form of mailings, I think just speaks to your discipline and how creative you were in doing it. Because that's the thing, Annette, I know you hear this because you guys have got a fantastic brokerage up there with lots of agents. A lot of people come in and they don't either set aside the necessary money, the necessary time. They don't get help right away. And then they get lost in this whirlwind where they're overwhelmed and they're doing nothing. So you coach up a lot of agents in your brokerage. What are some of the big things that you tell those first-year agents?
Get dressed professionally every day. Be at the office by 9 o'clock and stay till 5. And if you're here, things will happen. When you leave early and go home, they just quit happening. So I want you in the office. I want you dressed, because if you're dressed and there's overflow that I have, I'll give it to you. Mm-hmm. And if you see effort, you get the walk-ins and stuff, because I see you're trying so hard. So you need to be up in our area. And I always say the top 10 agents, what do they have in common? They all go to the office every day. They're there Monday through Friday, and they're doing something. And I think that's half the battle for new agents. They just don't bother to get in the habit of coming into the office and getting busy. Yeah,
I think that they come into this thinking that that being an entrepreneur is this awesome concept, and they don't understand that it takes even more discipline than they had when they worked a job. And I think that absolutely harms them. Wow. So full year one, you're a rookie of the year. You're doing so predominantly off your mailings, right?
Correct.
What do the next couple of years look like? What's the evolution look like in year 2 and year 3 for you?
Second year, I had the most listings in the MLS. The third year, I sold the most houses, and there was the top selling agent my third year in real estate.
Yeah, wow. Impressive. That's so impressive. Now, was that all? Did you keep the same system? Did you start cultivating a sphere? I mean, what that look like? Where was the majority of that book of business coming from?
A lot was coming from mailings, but I went to convention, which I encourage everybody to do because you learn so much there. But I went to convention and I came back and I said, I'm going to start selling houses on Facebook. And my broker laughed. He said, you can't. And I said, well, it's a relationship business. If I can build a friendship on social media, I'll sell houses. So my next year, I really started focusing on social media and making friends on, commenting and liking and, saying things about their kids playing sports, just making sure that I was always in front of them.
No, fantastic. So I definitely have a lot of questions for you as it pertains to social. But before we get into that, I just wanted to kind of backtrack. So 2012 Rookie of the Year, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 Quality Service Pinnacle Award winner, right?
My favorite award.
That is huge. We couldn't agree more. There's a big group of us here that really is a big focus of ours, is that, because I think that speaks a greater volume than anything else. But in your second year in the business, you were a centurion. So, yes. Oh my gosh. So for any of you listening that maybe aren't Century 21 or don't know what that means that means you're producing like in excess of $250,000 in GCI. I mean, that's a lot of money to go from new agent and new in the area, even with no SOI, to 2 years later, 1 year Rookie of the Year, and second year and every year after that, you're a centurion.
Well, and just so you know, in my market, to be a centurion, you have to stop. We don't do it on adjusted gross commission. We have to do it in units. So I have to sell 80 houses every year to get my award. 80? Yes.
Wow. and even now to this day, and we're going to we'll get into the social thing here in a moment, but even now to this day, what would you say the ratio of your business is? Not just buyer sellers, but like where you're generating these new opportunities from?
Now it's more referrals probably. I read a book, when I read that book, it said your third year, your business will drop because you'll quit doing what you did the first 2 years. And that scared the daylights out of me. So I still to this day, I have an assistant who does expireds every week and we do mailings every week. And I still drive by that for sale by owner and I'm calling my assistant, please, send out CMA letters to this road for me. I still do all the basics, but a lot of it's referral. I always say, if I don't become friends with you at the end of the transaction, I didn't do something right.
Yeah, it definitely makes the deal a lot funner that way, and it definitely is actually just more enjoyable to do it that way. So let me ask you real quick. I don't want to get too deep into your secret sauce here, but you're in Ohio and we're all the way down in Florida. So what's like the meat and potatoes of your letter? Like, are you just literally kind of like, do you have any call to actions that you're using, or is there anything specific or any specific advice you'd say for people that are watching this right now saying, okay, well, geez, what do I write in my letter?
Well, if you're with Century 21, you can email me and get the letter.
I like it. I like it. Let's do that. So here's the thing, everybody. I'm absolutely going to hit Annette up as soon as we wrap this up for that. So that's actually a great point, Annette, and that's exactly what we'll do. But in whole, it sounds like you're very simple with that letter, but very authentic. I mean, you hand sign it, you do so in blue ink so they know it's original signature. And you're just, I'm assuming, do you hand address them, or do you do labels on the outside, or?
So just for expireds, we do the handwritten. Now, we found out with the CMAs, it didn't make a difference when we did some testing. So we just pull right from the auditor site and do labels for all the other mailings. It's interesting too, when people talk about they farm areas, I don't repeat farm normally. Maybe a year or two later, I'll send another CMA letter, but I'm not the person who spends thousands of dollars in one development. What I try to do is do the development, make a friend in the development, and then train them on how to be my person in their development. And that seems to work better than the people who, it's funny because my one girlfriend who at the beginning of my career lived in a really rich area, she said, hey, you're new in real estate and I didn't get your Christmas card like everybody else. And I said, I don't have the money to compete with those people. And I realize it because she was, well, yeah, they're sending me stuff every month. I said, well, how about I just sell something for you or help you buy something, and then you can tell all your neighbors about it. And she's like, okay. And that's what we did. And I found out that was just a better plan for me.
Well, I think it's what you've done is common sense. You've gone where you know the business is, right? Like, I think a lot of people, when they do farming, here's the thing, farming works, right? Prospecting works, expireds works, everything works. But I think what you did is you took the path of least resistance. You were very efficient with your money, and you marketed to people that you knew were stimulated and that were thinking, selling, and transacting. And I think because of that, that allowed your marketing dollars to go a lot farther. So for those watching, I think it's a very smart way to do things. But I'll be honest with you, Annette, everyone, I love expires, and we've done it from Jump Street, but they just feel like, expires is a 4-letter word, that these are just mean, evil people. What would you say to those that feel that just working expireds is too hard?
Well, I think, you have to have different sources to get business. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. So that's just one of the ways I like going. But I know sometimes like a house will expire for the third time, and that's when I get the phone call. And I'm okay with being the third or the fourth agent getting the listing, because by that time they're ready to drop the price. They're ready to take your advice. For sometimes on the first time, they're not taking your advice. And the one thing people say is every time it expires, you always sent me a letter. You're consistent. And you were the only agent sending me an expired letter every time it expired. So sometimes it's 2 and 3 years of getting expired letters from me before I get it.
Wow, that's actually a great point. And I think a lot of people, when they do this, they're just so looking for those results that if they don't feel like they convert people right away, they quit. And I think that's such a huge point for everybody listening to hear. Like, just put your head down and stay very consistent with it. And there's nothing wrong with being passed over. I think a lot of people use that as an excuse to just not stick with expireds, because expireds and FSBOs, They are people that are primed and ready. And I think a lot of people spend millions of dollars on predictive analytics trying to figure out who is going to sell next. And, you know, you're aiming at a demographic that you know they're trying to sell now.
Absolutely. So, at the beginning of my career, someone said, well, you got to do cold calling. And I did 2 calls and they both rejected me. And I just said, I'm not good with rejection. So I've never made cold calls again. It's just not in my business plan. And sometimes my new agents will say they want to do cold calling. And I'm like, you know, there's some great people in Century 21. Follow what they do. And here, let me get you on their Facebook pages and workplace with them. But that's not what I do. And then a few months later, they'll come back and they'll say, you're still killing it. And I'm like, I'm still sending my letters and I'm still networking. And I believe in it so much that we have what another owner taught me to do was Power Zone. And one day a week, each office, they can come in and stuff envelopes for 2 hours. And as many as they can stuff for 2 hours, I'll pay the postage for it. That's how dedicated I am as an owner.
Wow, that is fantastic. Hopefully you guys hear that. That's fantastic. And we definitely, for those who are watching that are in our office, we've offered that in the past. And matter of fact, I think it's probably been a year or so that we did it. We called it the Power Hour, actually. Yeah, that's fine. That's fantastic. So let's walk through. Let's walk into how your businesses evolve. Now, we obviously hear that the start, and even still to this day, you know, 7, 8, 9 years later, you got into this using mail and letters, and you built the momentum. Let's talk about how you've augmented that, how you supplemented that with social media. Like, how did you, because I saw your Facebook, you got a tremendous following. How did that transition happen?
So I made a point, 15 minutes every day, get up and invite people to like your business page, make comments, invite on LinkedIn, Instagram, and I would just spend 15 minutes inviting people and making comments. And then at the end of the day, I would do the same, try to do the same thing again. It doesn't always happen in the evening, but I thought I just need to get a lot of followers and friends between my social medias and be authentic and put the good and the bad on there. I'm not real negative on there, but some days it's just a bad day and I need to share, like spill my coffee on the way to a listing appointment. People can relate to that. Or I'm known in my area for being in high heels. And that sounds really silly, but women will stop me and talk about high heels. And then it leads into real estate.
So let's talk into, if you don't mind, about how, because you got a tremendous audience. I think last time I looked, it was like 25,000 people like on Facebook. How do you say you do like, 15, 20 minutes in the morning and in the evening. Are you doing anything specific? Are you like, from a tactical perspective, because you said the word organic, and as a social media person myself, that means to me that you're trying to get authentic likes, right? You're trying to get people that are actually in your market, that once you have their eyes, they're going to start seeing you because they could potentially transact. How are you going about getting people organically to follow you? You said you're doing those invites, but kind of how are you finding them?
Well, if you can get them to comment on your social media, it tells you that they're not your friend. So you can get them once they comment, you can invite them to your page. So those are organic. And I did in the beginning to get some of them, I just ran some paid advertisement for likes. And my competition made fun of me because they knew I was buying, let's say, call it buying some likes on my Facebook page. But what I knew is that once I got so many friends, Facebook looks at you as somebody who's important. So your stuff gets pushed harder than everybody else's. So I can put something on and go a lot farther than my competition right now. And it also changes when you go to buy ads. When I go to put a listing ad on social media, where someone may pay $3 a click, I'm paying 10 cents a click. Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to get into a little bit finer details because I'm very much we very much promote social here. And I'm a big proponent of getting an audience. It doesn't matter what you look like if no one's watching, right? So you said you did paid ads. Do you remember? Because I mean, 25,000 is a lot. Do you remember, or do you have an idea, like how long it took you? And how much time and money did you wind up investing in that? I mean, how long? Like if someone watching this that says, I'm a new agent, I got 100 people that like my page. How do I get to Annette who's got 25,000, what would you say to that? Like, what set of instructions would you give?
It cost me about $500 to get there. So not much money at all. It was just a simple ad. It was nothing to do with real estate. If you like the statement, click it and it'll make you like my page. I mean, it's just super simple to do. And you can pick people in your area, or if you pick a broader area, it's a cheaper amount of money to get likes. And so if all your likes aren't exactly from your neighborhood, that's okay to get started. I mean, you want the bulk to be in your area, but you really just want to get over 10,000 likes. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So Facebook knows you're somebody.
Yeah, so 10,000 is a good number. How long did it take you, or how long would it reasonably take someone to get above that number?
I guess it depends on how hard you really work on it. I mean, I was under 6 months to get it.
Wow, good grief. So under 6 months, $500. You ran like campaigns, not real estate related, to try to generate that level of traffic. And then once you got, was 10,000 kind of like that magic number that you really started seeing things happen when you passed that number?
It was. Ads were much cheaper, and I was getting a lot more response and a lot more looks, views on my page. And so you just need to get to that. That's the goal. I mean, I'd like to have 100,000 people, but I'm not upset that we're only at 20. It slowed down. It was fast to get to the 10,000. It's a little slower to get to 20. And then once you get past 20, it's constant every day getting somebody to I have 5,000. I'm almost to my cutoff for friends on Facebook. It's 5,000. So it's getting a little harder to get likes on my business page.
So question for you then so in that regard, are you okay with, or from your experience, has it helped you more? Because we're always a big proponents of getting organic likes, of getting likes in your market area. So you feel that it's just as beneficial to even get some of those likes from outside your market area just because of the clout that Facebook gives you once you've passed a certain threshold. Is that correct?
Correct. Just getting to that 10,000, I would just say get there. After that, your market's better. But if you got a couple, if you got 1,000 or 2 people that are not in your area, that's okay too.
Now, did you hire anybody to do this, or did you do it yourself? And did you keep your targeting in the U.S. or around Ohio, or did you really go broad?
I went broad for a couple of the ads just to get it going, and it was cheap. The reason I did it in the beginning, I made it so broad, it was so much cheaper. And then when I got it to a number, a couple thousand, then I brought it into my area because then it wasn't expensive to do. So that's what you really need to keep in mind. Once you get a few thousand people, Facebook really drops the price of your ad.
Okay, so let's touch on that point, because that's a genius statement. So, because a lot of people make the argument for going outside the U.S. So listen to the strategy, because I want to make sure I clarify this with Annette, because I think it's a very intelligent strategy. So when you go outside the U.S., you can get likes for pennies, literally pennies. Mm-hmm. Then when you have that certain threshold, a like campaign that would maybe cost you $100 costs you 10, because Facebook sees you as an authority figure now, and now you getting those organic likes, that money travels that much farther. So that's kind of the strategy that it sounds like you used in that, right? Like you became an authority figure with a wide net, and then once you became that authority figure, then you were able to get your farm area or your geographic area around where you live, and you were able to get that very cost effectively.
Absolutely. So it's kind of funny now. I can take a listing and for $20, I don't normally use my whole $20 for a listing to hit everybody I need to hit.
Jeez.
So when people are like, well, you can do this, these companies call me all the time and say, hey, let me help you. You're not even on social media. And I'm like, oh, okay. What can you do for me? And I laugh because they're wanting to do stuff that costs a fortune, $200, $300 a listing. And I'm like, I can hit that many people on under $20.
That's tremendous. So are you a proponent, now that you've reached, such a high number of people, like, are you doing a lot of boosted posts or paid ads or a combination, or are you just doing organic posts because you got so many eyes? Like, what's kind of your strategy now?
I do a lot of organic stuff because it's just relationship. But let's say I have a listing that maybe I feel is the right price, but it's just not getting enough business. I'll run a $20 ad and normally end up with 10 showings that week, where in the last week or two, maybe it had nothing. And you think like, it's not really overpriced. I don't know what's going on with it. And I'll do it for my agents too. If I see a listing set for a week or two, and I'll call them and say, hey, are you getting anything on this? I'll just throw it on Facebook for them. Or sometimes I'm just like, oh, we had a great meeting today, and I'll just go through everything that my assistant has put on social media that day for the other agents. I'll just pay the money for them just to make, to have a lot of our listings out in social media. Or if they're saying like, or maybe it's been a slow week, and my agents will say it's been kind of slow, not a lot of showings. So everything my assistant put on social media the last couple of days, I'll just go through and pay to have them ran again. And it's funny how we watch what goes into contract when we do that. Wow,
that's fantastic. So are you using Facebook at all from a lead generation standpoint, or is it more branding, or a combination of both?
I'm not really using it for lead generation. I probably should be, but I was just saying that the other day, like I probably should be capturing more leads. I capture the people who comment, and I do try to reach out to the people who are comment or sharing it, or they're tagging somebody in it. We try to reach out to them and at least make sure they're liking our page, because a lot of times what we find are the people who are making the comments or liking, they're not our Facebook friends.
Wow, that's a fantastic point. So what would you say to somebody? They're a new agent, maybe they're from the area, so they got a decent network of people locally. Maybe they went to high school in the area. What would you say the Facebook strategy would be if they said, listen, I got a pretty good handle on social, I got a pretty good following? What would kind of be like, your top 5 steps that they should follow?
Be real. Post every day something. And not all real estate. I post about my kids, I post about vacations. When I go to convention, I always get that convention and awards really change your Facebook. I always say you can get four good posts from every award you receive. So make sure you're doing it correctly. But be real and let people know who you are. I see a lot of people who just get on there and talk about real estate all the time. And I think people don't know who you are when you do that. People don't care that you sell 80 houses. They just want to know they just want to know you're good at what you do, and they want to know who you are. And, I have 6 kids, so people will comment all the time about time management. My house is crazy and I can only go at this time. And I said, well, make it work. I understand. I have kids too. And people know that. And when we talk about real estate, it's such a relationship business. People hire people they know. And I get all the time, I'll ask, why did you call me? Because I already know who you are. I know you go to church, and I know you have kids, and I know who your husband is. And I just feel like you're my friend before we even get to the first showing.
Wow, that's fantastic. So we've actually talked a lot about the social media strategy with our agents and being authentic. And a lot of our agents have taken us up literally on it. They're literally they're sharing their day with people, and they're really kind of showing the personal side of themselves. And I couldn't agree with you more about showing that you're real, because people want to see, and I think a lot of agents are afraid, honestly, of showing who they are personally for fear of being judged and things of that nature. Obviously, there's some hot button topics that I definitely think you stay away from, but I still think that, you can't be on social and not be social and let people in. I mean, wouldn't you agree to that extent? Like, if you're going to do it right, or just don't do it.
I agree. And, the thing I had to get past is I don't like my picture taken. And most people think, oh, she's always in pictures. I hate my picture being taken. And in the beginning, I realized like I would take pictures and not be in it, and I wouldn't get comments. But if my face was in the picture, and it didn't matter what I was wearing or what I looked like, I would get more comments and likes. So I realized no matter what's going on, whether I love the picture or not, I need to put the picture on social media. and sometimes my eyes are closed in the picture. My friends will laugh and they'll be like, "That's just you." I'm like, it is, but it's better to be there and not look 100% than not to be there at all.
Couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more. And we get a lot of people, especially those that are coming into social media for the first time, that have this fear of just perfection. Like everything they do has got to be out there and just be spot on. And I think that people are a little probably not as trustworthy of that because they know that that's not real. So I really appreciate hearing you say that, because I think that is a big part of the social media strategy. So let me ask you, are you using any other social media platforms? Not to beat up the social media horse here, but are you using any other platforms besides Facebook right now?
I use them all. Facebook is obviously my favorite, but I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm doing some Snapchat, which is a little out of my comfort zone, putting silly rabbit ears on or whatever, but that's a different generation. And I realize you need to know that not every generation's on every social media, and I know that. And now I know who's on which social media. So you really watch what you say and do. And I have an app that'll push it everywhere, so that makes it a little easier. I wasn't doing a whole lot on LinkedIn until this past year, but I realized I was missing all my professional friends. A lot of your CEOs and stuff do not have social media, and some of them aren't allowed to have social media, but they're allowed to have a LinkedIn. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you're missing the career people.
That's a great point. If you don't mind sharing, what do you use? Do you use like a Hootsuite or a Buffer or something like that to do your scheduling, or?
I think it's called IFTTT.
Oh, IFTTT? Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
If this, done that, yep.
It's a nice system, and you can decide, like, if you put it on one system but you don't want it to feed the other, there's settings for that. So if I post on Facebook, I may not want it going to LinkedIn, but if I put it on LinkedIn, it can go to everywhere else. So it's got great settings, and it's free to use.
Yeah, it's free. So anybody watching that doesn't know what we just said, there's a service called IFTTT. It's called If This Then That, and basically what it is if you program a behavior, basically. So like if Annette posts something on her Twitter account, she can say, if I post it on Twitter, push it to my Facebook and my LinkedIn. Or if I post it on Facebook, only post it to my Twitter and not my LinkedIn. So it's kind of like this thing where you can say, if I do this, then this automatically happens. So it's a great free tool. We use it as well. Love it. I was just curious what it was that you're using. So question, are you doing a lot of your content creation? Have you handed that off to your assistant, or how does that work?
So I'm the worst to take the picture and not post. I saw pictures from convention, and I'm going to flood my system here this week with it because I think I had some great stuff I should have shared. But a lot of times throughout the day, I'll take a picture and send it to my assistant, Cassidy, who's my niece, and say, I'm not creative. Can you throw something on social media with this picture? And she'll say, like, I need a name, or where are you at? Or and I can give her like very basics, and she'll throw it up for me. But there's other times like it's just something I want to write about, and I'll do it. But I think there should be something every day. So one of us is posting, and then we use InStock Social too. I don't know if you guys are using that.
No, tell me about that.
InStock Social is free, and it pulls from other sites and will post on your social media. So if you do get busy and you forget, you can have real estate generic posts being put up for you. And so it may catch you, and you can set times that you want it. And you can also pay it on more. But you can pick and choose. They show you what they're going to post, and you can say yes and no. And it'll tell you that if it's a 1 through 10, 10 being the best post to use. And it's just easy, and it's a lot of filler.
I love it. So is that called InStock Social?
It's either InStock Social or InSocial.
Okay, cool.
And you know that I learned those two from Jesse out in New Jersey. I went to the New Jersey Brokers Association up there, and they asked me to speak, and I asked, I'll speak if I can set through what you guys are learning. And those are two things I picked up, and they've just changed the way I do real estate now.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely message you afterwards to verify what that service is. So let me ask you something. I see you also carry a tremendous amount of designations. So Seems like training has been a really important thing to you. How has that, like, how have you managed to do all that? You produce at your volume, you're a very busy lady, you're a businesswoman, a business owner, and yet it seems like every year you've been in the business, looks like you've added another designation.
So in the beginning, I loved, when I still do, Century 21 University is the best. So I would be stuffing envelopes and I always had something playing. And when I started having assistants sit in the office with me, they would laugh. They're like, who are we listening to today? Would be how they started the day, because we always had training going on. And then the one thing I always tell new agents is you need alphabet soup behind your name. You ever go to the doctor and you see all those initials and you think, oh, he is so educated, or she is, because of that. I realized at the beginning of my career, if I could put alphabet soup behind my name, people would think I was in the business longer than I was. So I got a lot of designations my first 2 years. And people are like, how long have you been in the business? And I'd say 2 years. And they're like, you have all those letters behind your name. And I said, yeah, it like gives me that extra years on my real estate license. I bought those years. And people would laugh about it, but I did get a lot of business just from having all the designations.
For sure. What would you say, because you got a bunch of good ones, what would you say are some of your favorite? What would you recommend to maybe a year one agent, year two agent? What were some of your favorites?
So my husband was military, and the best designation I got, and I'm in a small town, I got the military designation. And I'll never forget, my broker at the time laughed at me and he said, we are in Ohio, we don't have any military bases. I said, yeah, but my husband's a vet and I think I see value. And one of the boys who grew up in my house, one of my son's friends, was home that year for the 4th of July. And I said, will you walk in the parade with your military uniform on with me, and while I pass out candy? And the whole parade, every time he went by, they just all stood up and, clapped and cheered for him. And I got 8 listings the next week because of that. Oh
my gosh.
And they just said, we understand that you love the military.
Wow.
So I would say that's a very inexpensive one to start with. And no matter where you go, you don't have to be near military base. I think that's what people take for granted. There's veterans in every city.
Oh yeah, without a question, without a doubt. Like, I was a former law enforcement officer, so we have a program within our company called the Heroes Initiative that any first responders, military, any medical personnel, doctors, nurses, teachers. So we have a program that falls right in line with that. So for any of our agents that are watching this, yeah, MRP is a great one. I love that. What else? What other big one would you recommend?
Century 21 offered CRS. Like, I think my 3rd year, you could go to Vegas early and work on that designation, and it was pretty inexpensive. So I did CRS, and I do get a lot of business from my CRS. That's just a nice network where everybody exchanges. It's a little more expensive, so it takes a little longer to get. I have a senior designation, and after I got the senior designation, I went to the nursing homes and bought playing cards with my business card on the back, because all the people play cards out there. And I just talked about when it comes to that time when you're ready to, like, they let me do little seminars at the community center, for the older people. And I just said, when you're ready to talk about selling and moving in with your kids, or maybe you're getting to that stage where maybe you need to go into assisted living, no, I care. Come talk to me. I'm going to get you when they sell that last home, that's their last big investment that they're cashing out on, so they need to get the most. And I explained I was going to be passionate about that. Wow. So I like that designation too.
That's fantastic. Awesome. Well, let me see here if we've got, let me see if we have a shy audience here, or we've got any comments here that we can leverage. Okay, cool. All right, so backing up. So, I mean, we definitely covered a lot of ground here. We definitely covered, that you did and still used what a lot of people would see as a traditional method. I think a lot of people fear the rate of return on it, and you were able to be very successful with that. What would you say to somebody like, well, actually, let me back up. So, what percentage of your business then was attributed to mailings, like you mentioned, and what percentage of it is it now?
In the beginning, it was probably 80% of my business.
Wow.
Now it's not quite as high because I have a great sphere of influence and I have great referral business. So I'm probably like at 20%.
So the message here is that you don't have to do it forever. I mean, you should probably still keep that momentum, but it's not like you have to worry about business not evolving. So you basically used it as a lead capture tool, and then you put everybody into a CRM and into your ecosystem, and you cultivated them over time, and now you've gotten them as repeat business and referrals and things of that nature. So actually, let me ask you, so let's end on that exact topic. What are you doing, or what do you recommend? Like now, okay, let's say you were able to feed, 80 clients into the CRM a year for the last, let's see, 9 years or so. What's going on with them on a daily, weekly, monthly basis?
So I feed them into Zap, and I know some people don't want to hear that, but I love Zap because it's part of our, it's part of our system and it's free. And I'm all about spending the least amount of money. I want to profit. That's, I think that's what we're all in it for. But I keep them in Zap, and I keep them on a follow-up plan all the time. And
are you doing any direct mailing to them to kind of supplement what you're doing in Zap?
I do direct mailing still. I do expired still, and I do for sale by owners. The only thing I don't do as much of as I used to is probably, I would just farm streets for the, 10 streets or 15 a week. And I probably just don't farm that many because I own 2 offices now, and I want my agents doing that. And I don't want to compete with them. So I try to base my business more off referral and networking and social media.
I gotcha. Now on the SOI side of things, are you still mailing your SOI? Like, are you doing anything to cultivate them from a print perspective?
I always like to say I've always had 50 in my sphere, but my assistant will tell you that's a lie. She's like, you've got like, I think 72 in your sphere, and I mail it. We hard mail them something every single month. I email them every month, but I give them tips about spring cleaning or, fall, what you should do to prepare your house. Or this week, we sent out Easter, like happy Easter postcards, and we get everything we use right out of the Century 21 website. So we just print the postcards on our printer right out of there and send them out. I have learned though that those people need to change sometimes, because if you see on social media that they're always recommending a different agent, you shouldn't be wasting your time mailing them. And I add people to it, or if people move out of the area, I may trade them out for somebody, but you at least have to have 50. And I tell people, that's one of the first things my agents do when they come. I say, pick 50 people that you can train. And if if you're at a party, if you're at one party and there's another party that night, you can't be at both. So who's going to be at that party for you talking about you? So they constantly have to be seeing your name and say, hey, I just got a postcard from Annette, and she's a great agent.
Fantastic. So what would you say? So you said your business now is about 20% as a result of the expired prospecting you're doing. Can you break down the other 80, like just generically? Like, what do you think? Where do you think it's coming from now? When you say like referral or things of that nature, how is it coming in? Is it coming in via social? What's that look like?
Probably more of it comes in, a referral from a past client or a past client reach. So that's probably 50% of my business is just referral now.
And those people that are coming in via referral, are they reaching out to you? Are they directly calling you, emailing you, Facebook? Is it a combination of all that? Like, are they using a marketing tool to respond to you, or are they just randomly picking up the phone?
It's the craziest thing. I got to remember where they are at some days, because they come in, they're in Zap replying, or they're in social media, one of the social medias, or they're texting, or they're calling. I don't have one that is the only way they're contacting me. They're contacting me everywhere. And sometimes my assistants will say, like, hey, you missed a comment or something in social media. You need to reply, or she'll screenshot it to me. So I have an assistant who's really good on social media that, we have all the automatic responses, but that doesn't mean when you're out and about that you're catching everything. So she's on there a few times a day. just reminding me who I need to be reaching out to.
How big, we kind of glossed over that point. I want to just touch it real quick before we wrap up. How big of a factor do you think having an assistant early on was to your success? And how big is it now, even still to this day?
I would have never made Centurion if I wouldn't have had an assistant, and I would never give it up, because what I found is there are things I absolutely hate doing. And when you hate doing them, you don't do them. So you need to find an assistant who's really good at the things you hate doing, and they don't mind doing it. So at one point I had two full-time assistants. I probably never should have had two full-time. It just meant that I didn't properly train both of them. But you should have one full-time assistant that's taking care. They're monitoring your social media. They're sending out your. I haven't stuffed a letter in a very long time, or pulled my labels off the auditor site or the MLS site. So my assistant does all that. It was hard to let it go, some of it, but I needed to let it go because where I need to be are with my clients, and I need to be at networking events. And there's a lot that they can do. They can even reply to emails as long as they're not real estate related. Mm-hmm. So I always say, like, my magic number is 21 unanswered emails at the end of the day. So sometimes it's just, I can quickly say, like, can you respond to these people, my emails, and they're doing it for me. But I would encourage everybody to have an assistant and give them the things that you just hate doing.
I think the big thing is that their fear of that expense and forking out that money. And you found a very creative solution to that, and getting people paid at the closing table. I think that, and tell me what you think, I think that no matter what people have to do, they got to figure that out. Like, we have one new agent, she's in her first year. She just hired her first full-time, gosh, what am I thinking here? College, I'm blanking out. Intern, yeah. Mm-hmm. She just hired her first full-time intern, got him off social, and now this intern is giving her 20 hours a week. And that's 20 hours of marketing time back that she was able to buy back, and able to buy back for free. So, I mean, I think that was, in my opinion, something I think that you did that was really pivotal to you. What would you say to somebody, though, that if they can't find a way to defer costs and things, would you still say that they just got to figure that out? Like, what do you say to your new agents in that regard?
I tell them all the time. I have one right now, and he just needs an assistant. And I say, you're not going to grow any bigger than you are right now. And you keep saying you want to produce more, but until you get an assistant, you just have no hopes of doing that, because we can't add hours to a day. So if you are adding something else you need to do, you're not taking care of something else. So he's not doing probably expireds and proper farming right now, and he should be. I always tell people, like, I had an assistant one year, and the government paid for it. There was some government money out there. So I would say talk to your local, like, Job and Family Services, and see what grant monies they are, because you'll be surprised at how many times there are people out there who come. I paid her. I think I had to match the state. They paid everything, and I had to pay $1 an hour for her. Wow. So it was crazy. And then I've had an intern from a college. They needed hours towards their college credits. And I've used those, and I've tried to use those in the busy months when I probably didn't need the second assistant, but I needed more help than just one assistant.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, we covered quite a bit of ground. It sounds like, I think what everyone probably are sitting there saying is, wow, that's a pretty duplicatable formula. And for those of you that are watching, it usually is, and it's not that that's not a duplicatable formula. It just has to be done. What piece of advice? Last thing, and then I'll let you go, because we've been at it for a while, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time. You've been fantastic in your willingness to share. What would you say to people, like, in regards to, you've obviously pulled off some amazing stuff. You're a very busy lady, very busy personal life. What advice would you give to somebody that's brand new in the business? Maybe or they're in their first year, and they're seeing, like, wow, she became you know, she became a centurion by year 2, rookie of the year 1. I want to do that, but I just don't know where to begin. What are just some simple steps without overcomplicating this that they can follow?
I tell everybody, get up and get dressed in your business clothes. And listen, if you've got to go to the Goodwill to get those clothes, that's okay. You don't have to spend a fortune on clothes. But get up. And when you go shopping, keep your name tag on. When you go, my husband would laugh. We would go out to dinner and my name tag would be on. He's like, take your name tag off. And I'm like, nope, what if that waitress needs to buy a house today? Mm-hmm. So I have a blingy name tag, and all my lady agents has them. They have the diamond, you know, the fake diamonds and everything. Wear it everywhere you go. Make sure it stands out. Because when you're dressed for success, you're not going to run away from people you see. When you're not dressed properly, you're going to shoot down a different aisle and not talk to them. Or the phone's going to ring to show a house, and you can run out and show a house because you're dressed and ready to go. But if you're home in your sweatpants, you're not going to run out. You're going to push it off a day or two. And that day or two, you can lose a client. And make sure you go to the office. And even if you sat in an office, just hearing the seasoned agents talk. And you can ask questions. And if a seasoned agent's having a bad day, they'll share everything that's going wrong with that deal. And you learn from their bad experiences. So just get up, get dressed, and be at the office. And if you have nothing to do, stuff envelopes.
It literally doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. We were talking the other day that the top salesman, 12 years running in the Guinness Book of World Records, was actually a car salesman and made his name doing handwritten notes every day. To the point at his capacity, at his max, he was doing 16,000 a month.
I do handwritten notes, but not that many.
Yeah, well, he had an entire team of people doing it. But the point is it's something as simple and personal as a letter or a handwritten note. So what Annette has done, the strategy hasn't been overly complex, but what she's done is she's done it with mastery. She's just done it and been very consistent and obviously been very professional along the way. I think, Annette, a lot of people overcomplicate this, and while they were overcomplicating it, you were just blowing right past them and achieving the level of success that you have. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time today and your willingness to share, and I'll definitely send you some follow-up emails for any Century 21 agents that want to communicate. And obviously, you guys within the system, I don't know if you're watching this maybe on Workplace or wherever you may be finding this, but yeah, reach out to Annette. She's been very gracious to us. Annette, thank you so much for your willingness to share. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
I appreciate you asking. I'm always happy to share. So if you guys have questions, reach out to me on social media, like my page, copy what I'm doing. It's easy.
Yeah, it's like losing weight, right? We all know what to do. The hard part is just doing it. And kudos to you, Annette. You've really done it well. Hope you guys have another fantastic and big 2019. By the way, for those of you watching this, so listen to this. 2011, brand new agent into the business, and now she owns her own brokerage. You've got what, 3 locations now? I
have two locations, and you know, I just want to say this. Saturday night, I got the opportunity. I'm the Ohio Broker Council President for Century 21, and I got to pass out all the awards with Greg Sexton from Realogy. And I told my agents at the end of the night, the most amazing thing was I dreamed about getting all the awards for myself. I never dreamed that I would own 2 offices and be passing out awards. All but 4 of my agents got awards this weekend. Wow. And one of them didn't get an award because he was at the event. He wasn't licensed yet. But I handed out the Rookie of the Year for Ohio to one of my agents, and I handed out the 121% award to one of my agents. And I said, I guess I wasn't dreaming big enough when I started in real estate, because I never dreamed that I would own 2 offices and be passing out. I was just dreaming of myself getting the awards. I cried Saturday night when I got to hand them out, and just knowing that my agents are doing what I'm asking them to do and they're following what I'm teaching. I said it was like one of the best mom moments in my life.
Well, good for you. Congratulations. That is absolutely fantastic. There's nothing better than, it's awesome to achieve it for yourself. It's a whole nother thing to help others and elevate others. So huge kudos to you. That surprises me not. They have a fantastic role model to follow. And hopefully some of the agents watching this here in the system, within our company and yours, anybody watching this, yeah, take Annette's advice. Follow what she's doing. Here's the thing, this business is not difficult. It just needs to be duplicated, and you just need to be consistent with it. And I mean, look what this amazing businesswoman has done in such a short period of time to ascend to that point, and then to come kind of full circle. And now you're on the end of handing it out. That's an awesome accomplishment, Annette. And I'm sure that I have every confidence that'll continue. And I look forward maybe to us catching up again here in the near future, maybe doing this again on some other topics. I would really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Anytime.
Awesome, Annette. Well, listen, thank you so much again for your time. Everybody, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you got a lot out of it. A really amazing woman. Connect with Annette on Workplace. Connect with her on social. Give her some love and support on social as well. And yeah, it's just a matter of R&D, like I like to say, rip off and duplicate. What she's doing is very duplicatable. Now it's just a matter of doing. So, all right, thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate you. Till the next time.